Hello everyone, welcome to the most comprehensive video you will find on the French Revolution. And I can assure you, after watching this full video, even if you want, you will not be able to forget the French Revolution and it will be crystal clear in your mind, okay? But one thing is there, if you find this video helpful, you have to subscribe. Now let us start. See, when I talk about the French Revolution, first thing that I need to understand is what is the meaning of the word revolution. Okay, the meaning of the word revolution is a sudden change. Okay, a sudden change in the existing order. A sudden change in the existing order. Now, what do I mean by the existing order? By existing order, what I mean, a change in the existing, maybe in the existing political scenario, maybe a change in the existing societal order, maybe a change in the existing economic order, anything, any kind of sudden change in any aspect, in any sphere of human life is said to be a revolution. There has to be a sudden change and some old order has to be replaced by a new order. Now, when we put about this idea of revolution, in the context of the French Revolution, what we see is there were fundamental changes in the French society and in the French economy and in the French political order in particular that had long-reaching impact not only in the history of France but also in the history of entire Europe and gradually from there in the history of the entire world. Why? The question is why? Because the French Revolution introduced in the minds of the people the idea of liberty, the idea of equality and the idea of fraternity. Right? So, before we start about the new order that was established, first and foremost we have to understand what was the old order before the revolution actually happened. And we will study about this old order. In what old order? We will study about the first, that is the existing social order that was there. Then we will see the existing political order that was there, and then we will see the existing economic order that was there. Now, beginning from the social order, the French society was actually divided into three estates. Right? Here the key word is estate. What does the word estate mean? The word estate is associated with land. Right. So, the French society was divided into three groups based on the amount of land that was held by the people and additionally on the basis of birth. That is, whether a person was high born or whether a person was so called low born. High born means what? Whether the person had any kind of contact, hereditary contact with the royal family. Right. So, this was the kind of division. Now, let us see what were the three estates. The first estate was the clergy or we can say the church. So, the church, the land held by the church, and the church was the first estate, that is the topmost. Second estate were the nobles and the third estate was everybody else. Okay, everybody else was part of the third estate. And here these were the people who will actually rise first against the nobles and then they will rise against the monarch himself. Right? Now, the entire study of the French Revolution is based on the discontent of the third estate towards the nobles and then gradually towards the monarch. Now, first let us see that who were the people who were having grudges in the third estate. See, always remember, the poor people generally, the poor as in I mean extremely poor people, they do not generally have any kind of headache about who is oppressing them. Because for them, whether it is the king or whether it is someone else, it is just a change of hands. That is just the oppressor changes. The main people in the third estate who will actually lead the people to the French Revolution are the bourgeois. Right? Who are the bourgeois? The bourgeois basically are the capitalists who own the means of production. right? They basically are the people who have money in their hands. They are doing trade. They are kind of investing their money in further industries and in the banks, but still, just because they are low born, so called low born, or just because they do not have any kind of royal blood in their veins, they are being put together in the same group that consists of peasants, that consists of serfs, that consists of the poor people in the society. So, do you think these people are going to like that? Definitely not. Along with this, in this particular group, we also have teachers, we also have lawyers, we also have doctors, we also have philosophers. That's why I said everyone else who does not have royal blood belongs to this particular group. So there were extreme differences. Some people are extremely educated, some people are extremely rich, and the other people are extremely poor. So these people, these lawyers, doctors, bourgeois, they were kind of dissatisfied with the existing order, and they wanted a change, and they were looking for an opportunity to change this social order. Now these people, the rich people don't go to war and die, okay? The rich people provide the money, and it is basically the poor people who go and shed their blood on the streets. So when we talk about the French Revolution, it is these people, that is the bourgeois and the other people, that is the teachers, doctors, lawyers, they were the ones who provided leadership, and it was the poor people who actually were there on the streets fighting the nobility and then fighting the king. Got it? And these people comprised 90%, over 90% of the French population, and these were the people who were paying taxes. But the nobles, they did not have to pay any tax. The church, who was the first estate, they did not pay any tax. So the entire burden of running the country came to the third estate, and they were the ones who got least privileges. They were the ones who got least privileges, and definitely it was for this reason that they were looking for a change, right? And they were looking for an opportunity. Now this was a social order. When we come to the political order, the existing old political order that was there in the society, then there were four groups, okay? In the political order, there were four prominent groups. What were the four prominent groups? The first group was the monarch, who ruled by saying that he is ruling. Why is he the monarch? He is the monarch because God has chosen him, okay? He ruled because of his divine right. Second group was the States General. The States General was kind of the only, it was a kind of only national body, okay? That was a kind of parliament kind of a thing, we can say. It was a kind of assembly, okay, where people from all three estates met. It was a body that was meant for the people from all the groups, that is all the three groups we studied, to come together and to discuss about their grievances, their rights, and anything that they wanted to discuss. And the matter of fact is, the French Revolution happened in 1789, and this States General surprisingly had not met since the year 1614. So can you imagine, it's over a century that these people, that is the monarch and the nobles, they are ruling without hearing the voice of the third estate. Don't you feel angry? Similar anger was actually felt by the third estate. The third group is the church. This church, it had become, at that point of time, I'm not talking about the present church, okay? I'm talking about the church during the time of the French Revolution. It had become very corrupt. Corrupt in what sense? That is, generally we assume that who are the people who are associated with the church? It is generally the people who are very pious, who are very religious. But the church at this point of time started consisting of the people who were nominated by the nobles, of the people who were just interested in getting money. The church has had huge amount of land. Okay, the church had huge amount of land on which it made the people work, and it did not even pay the people. Some people, rather I would say majority of the people, were not even paid. They were just supposed to give mandatory service to the church, right? Plus the church had also assumed the role of censorship. The church used to, before anything was published, the church used to go through it and decided whether it was fit for the people to read. So any kind of criticism of the church was not allowed to reach to the people. And the fourth group politically which was important was the parliaments. Okay, parliaments. Now this parliaments does not mean the parliament. This parliaments were actually courts of justice, right? They were courts of justice, and these courts, generally these parliaments consisted of people who were kind of, they were not exactly belonging to the rank of higher nobles, but they were not exactly belonging to the third estate. They were somewhere in the middle. Okay, these people were put in the group of the parliaments. And what was this parliaments? It was basically courts, or it was places where justice were given, and the parliaments had the power to review all the instructions of the monarch. That is, if the king basically wanted to do something, or he gave a kind of statement or an order, these people had the power to review it, and if they wanted to make some change, they could make some change. So everything was going on very well. The problem was that in that particular age, there was a phenomena called enlightenment that was going on. Enlightenment was the mood of the 18th century, inspired by Renaissance. See, I have made a video on Renaissance, Reformation and Enlightenment. You must go and see the video. And definitely I am using the word must, because that is the basic foundation that you need to know before you read European history. At least the European history that I teach. Right? So please go and see that video. It's not just about promotion, it's about the basic fundamental concept that you really need to know to understand world history. Now when we say about enlightenment means what? It means age of reason. Okay, enlightenment means age of reason. Seeing everything by reason. If the church says something is a sin, people will try to find out, why is this a sin? If the king is not fulfilling his duties, people will start questioning the king and the nobles. So what enlightenment did was, it put in the minds of the people the idea that if we owe certain duties towards the state also owes some duties towards us. So it is vice versa. The state can no longer tax us to the very last cell that we have in our body and give us nothing. This realization was another fundamental reason that led to the French Revolution. Right? Now, since we are talking about the political order, there are three people that we need to know about. First is King Louis XIV, King Louis XV and King Louis XVI. All of the three, they belong to the house of the Bourbon monarchy. Okay, Bourbon or the Bourbon monarchy that existed in France at that time, that is at the time of the French Revolution. Now this person Louis XIV, he was so arrogant that he claimed that I am the state. This person in the age of enlightenment is claiming that I am the state, so definitely the people will be angry towards him. But he was followed by Louis XV, who was kind of, whom we say butterfly king. Okay, we call him as the butterfly king. He was least bothered about the affairs of the state, and he was a very a kind of ease loving person. He did not pay much attention to the affairs of the court, and it was during his time that the nobles became even more powerful. And he was followed by Mr. Sweet Louis XVI, who was a victim of indecision. Not everyone is born a leader. Not everyone is born to lead. There are some people who just want to follow the orders. This particular person, that is Louis XVI, he was suffering from indecision. He just could not take any decision. He left everything in the hands of the nobles, and the nobles did whatever suited to them, right? So this was in the political condition. Now the main bone came in the context of the economic aspect. It was this economic aspect that actually developed into a revolution. Social and political thing made the background. Economic crisis actually led to the beginning of the revolution. The state at this time France was actually passing at this time through a period of economic crisis. Why was there a period of economic crisis? Because there was a series of droughts, there was a series of famines accompanied by various losses that the French had to go through in various wars that they fought. The French actually fought in the War of American Revolution. They helped during the time of the American Revolution. The Americans got independence, but they did not pay back. Initially, the payback was not there. Second thing is, they also involved themselves in the War of Austrian Succession. Don't worry about this, because we will see like in the next videos as it follows. When we see about the unification of Germany and all, we will talk about this War of Austrian Succession and so on. So here also they put in a lot of money, but what happened? They got nothing out of it. They lost. This caused considerable amount of decline in the prestige of the monarchy. The people also started to question that what kind of leadership are we having if they are not being able to give us any kind of, neither are they successful politically, nor are they successful socially, nor are they able to give us any kinds of rights. So what are they fit for doing? Now the king, what he did, Louis XVI, he decided that he will tax the nobles, nobles as in the second estate, in order to recover some amount of money, right? But do you think the nobles who were enjoying the privileges for so long, they will easily nudge? No. The nobles said, no, we are not going to pay you any kind of taxes. And under pressure, the king had to call, that is under pressure as in under pressure of the economic crisis, and because the nobles actually refused and the people were rebelling, that is the third estate, it was kind of showing its displeasure and discontent. The king very well understood the mood of the time, that the people are not happy, there is a discontent among them, and I am in a economic soup, I do not have money, and the nobles are not listening to me. So he decided, he could not take his own decisions, he decided that let me call this States General. And I told you it was a place of meeting where all the three estates met. So after 1614, it was the first time that the States General was called. And from here begins the stages of the French Revolution. For our convenience, we have divided the French Revolution into 5 stages. Okay, into 5 stages, which are as follows. So the first stage was the meeting of the Estates General. The States General, or the Estates General that I had said. What was the Estates General? Estates General was when all the 3 estates actually met. Now here there were some disputes. Okay, I'm just giving you a brief idea and then we will do in details. In the first stage, what happened? This Estates General, all the 3 estates met. There was a kind of dispute among them regarding voting, and the third estate actually walked out. Right? It walked out, or it was not allowed to be inside. The third estate then formed what? It formed a kind of national assembly, which it said was its own assembly, its representative of the real French population, because the third estate formed more than 90% of the population. Then the fighting will actually move to the streets. There will be declaration of the rights of man. The reign of terror will be there. People will actually fight on the streets. And then finally there will be the end of the French Revolution. Now let us see each of them stage by stage. Coming to the first stage, okay, what these people wanted, and by these people I mean people of the third estate, what they wanted was equal voting rights. They wanted equal voting rights in the Estates General. They said that since we form more than 90% of the population, we should not have, our votes basically should not have less value. Our votes should not have less value compared to the votes of the nobles, because till now we know it was the nobles who were enjoying all the privileges. So they said the voting, that is whatever was the agenda of the meeting of this Estates General, the agenda should have vote per share. It should have vote per head. Okay, they said that the Estates General, when it has met, तो उसमें क्या है, there are 3 houses where it is meeting. In one house it is the first estate, in the second house it is the second estate, in the third house it is the third estate. So if I am saying that the population of the third estate is high, that means third estate कहाँ पे बैठेगा? Where is the third estate sitting? The third estate is sitting and it has the number of heads here are more. The number of heads here are more. So if there is a voting based per head, chances are that the voice of the third estate will actually be heard. But it was not acceptable to these 2 groups. Now remember, till now the people were actually angry on the second estate, that is on the nobles. They were not angry on the king. Till now they were not angry on the king or the monarch. They thought that okay, we need a monarch, we need a monarchical form of government, so we need a monarch, let the monarch be. The monarch is a good person. Who are the problem? The problem is the nobles. But here when they saw that the monarch is not standing with them, the monarch is not standing with them, and that's why we say Louis XVI was a product of indecision. When the monarch is not standing with them, at that point of time, they declare that even the monarch should be brought to trial. That is based on the ideas of enlightenment. We also have to see whether the monarch is fulfilling his duties or not. Understood? So initially the French Revolution started against the privileges of the nobles and the church, and gradually it also included the monarch. Right? Now these people, that is the people of the third estate, they were actually humiliated. When they went to this Estates General meeting, they were humiliated. How? They were said to wear black dress. They were made to follow a dress code, and they were said you have to wear a black dress and you have to sit separately. You have to sit separately, you cannot sit with us. That is the first and the second estate. We are actually very much superior to you, so you do not have the right to sit with us. We do not want to do anything with you. We just don't want to look at you. Okay, so there was a kind of humiliating treatment, and when these people actually wanted vote per head and not vote per share, because the other estates, they were saying कि we are 3 estates, each estate will have equal votes. For example, the share of the vote of the first estate maybe is 2. So the share of the vote of the second estate will also be 2, and the third estate will also be 2. But this, if vote per share is followed, never will the demands of the third estate be met, because then they would be put under a minority category. Okay? So a kind of heated discussion and debate was happening in the Estates General regarding the issue of vote per head, and these people, that is the third estate people, they were made to kind of walk out, and the gates were closed. The gates were closed. Now when the gates were closed, these people were like, where should we go? They decided that we will not go back, we will not disassemble till the time our demands are met. Till the time our demands are met, we are not going anywhere. But since the gate is closed and they are not allowed to go inside, what they do is, there was a tennis court nearby. They meet there and they form their own assembly, which they call as the National Assembly. And truly so, because they were the ones who actually made up France. Majority of the population was made up by them only. So they formed the National Assembly and they took an oath, and this entire thing is said to be the tennis court oath. Right? So am I being clear till now? Next we are moving on to the second stage. The second stage is also known as the stage when the French Revolution begins. Okay. Now, why do we use the term French Revolution begins for the third stage? See, we ended the first stage by saying that there was a National Assembly that was formed and people took an oath, right? In the second stage, people actually took the matters in their own hands. And here when I say about the people, I mean the people of the third estate. Okay? Who were the people who were meeting in the National Assembly? It was the bourgeois, capitalists, lawyers, philosophers. They were the brain of the revolution. Okay? They were meeting in the National Assembly. They were discussing the plans and everything. It was being executed by the people on the ground. The lower people as in the peasants, the serfs and the other poor people, they were actually the ones who were taking over on the streets. Now, when this National Assembly is going on and the tennis court oath is being taken, at that point of time, there is the rumor of a military coup. Okay, there is the rumor of a military coup. That is the people of the third estate, they actually are getting to know that there is a military coup is about to take place. And what do we mean a coup? Coup means when once the military is actually going to remove the king and going to take over the power in its own hands. People thought that this is going to happen. There was a rumor that was going on. So people decided that if the military is going to do a coup, let us start now itself. The people went and attacked, the common people actually, they went and attacked the Bastille fortress. Now this symbolizes the beginning of the French Revolution, the attack on the Bastille fortress. Why? Because the Bastille fortress was actually a state prison. It acted as a state prison for a long period of time. It was still a state prison. So it was the people who were breaking open a prison by removing the officers who were legitimately appointed by the state, and this symbolized people taking the matters in their own hand. That's why this thing is also said to unleash the kind of great fear that engulfed in the society. And fear among whom? Fear among definitely the nobles and other people who were till now exploiting the third estate. These nobles, actually there was a great fear among these nobles, and they started to flee the country. They started to leave France and started to flee. This made the people even more angry, and they started burning the houses and estates of these nobles. Now this was followed by stage 3 of the revolution. What was the stage 3 of the revolution? Here the National Assembly actually adopted or actually declared the rights of man and citizen. Here a constitution was adopted, okay? A constitution was adopted which declared the rights of man and the citizens. And this constitution, what was the principle on which this constitution was based? It was based on the principle of limited monarchy and a strong assembly. Okay, limited monarchy and a strong assembly, and it was also based on the ideas of enlightenment. That is, enlightenment, especially that of Rousseau. He was a philosopher of the Renaissance period. Rousseau, he said that the state existed out of a contract between the people and the state, and each had duties towards each other. So this symbolized, this adoption of the constitution, this declaration of the rights of man and the citizens based on the principles of enlightenment symbolized the change in the old order. Understood? So this is why, this is the main crux that we are coming to. This symbolized the change of the old order and the coming up of the new order that was based more on democratic principles, more on civil rights to the citizens, more on the ideas of equality, because this is what was the main bone of contention. Now this thing was actually, but then this thing was not enough for the radical elements. Okay, there were some radical elements. That is, in every revolution what happens is it is made up of some moderate people who have some moderate views, and there are some radical people who want more radical changes. So in the French Revolution also, in the National Assembly, there were some people who were very, very radical. These two radical elements, that is Danton and Maximilien Robespierre, what these two people wanted was, they did not want a limited monarchy. They wanted the king, that is King Louis the 16th, to be put to trial. ठीक है, दे वॉन्टेड द किंग टू बी पुट टू ट्रायल. दैट इज, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, वो किंग से हिसाब मांग रहे थे. ठीक है, कि आपने इतने दिन तक क्या किया है. सो दे वॉन्टेड अ काइंड ऑफ ट्रायल ऑफ द किंग, एंड दे रिप्लेस्ड द नेशनल assembly, or we can also say not the National Assembly as such, they replaced the legislative assembly, because the constitution was adopted. So they replaced the legislative assembly with something that was called the National Convention. With the National Convention, and the radicals, the group of radicals, they started attacking the people whom they called enemies of the revolution. Enemies of the revolution. This included people who had royal blood, plus it included the moderates among the revolutionaries themselves. It included the moderates as well as the revolutionaries themselves. The king was arrested. King Louis the 16th was arrested, and he was executed. So the king was killed, and later his wife Maria was also killed. This killing of the king marked the most violent phase. The most violent phase of the French Revolution was killing of King Louis the 16th. In the name of being the enemies of the state, there were several people who were massacred on the streets. Literally, they were massacred and killed on the streets, and this reign of terror ended only after the death of the revolutionary, that is Robespierre. After the death of Robespierre, he was actually executed. That the people finally started to stand up against the excesses that were committed during the reign of terror, that was called the Thermidorian reaction. And the result of this was the fifth and the last stage of the revolution, where the National Convention, which now composed of the moderates who had survived the excesses of the reign of terror, approved the creation of a new constitution, which created a kind of bicameral legislature of France. And this new bicameral parliament that was actually created, this parliament would be headed by whom? Now we have already the National Convention, right? We have the National Convention. We have a bicameral legislature, and bicameral legislature means there are two houses, and they are part of the what? They are part of the parliament. Now it was that who will lead the parliament? The king is already gone. So who will lead the parliament? It was decided that the parliament will be led by a directory. Okay, it will be led by a directory which will compose of 5 members, and when anyone who opposes this directory will be kind of punished by the army. Okay, so this directory was actually protected by the army, and the army was actually headed by Napoleon. Not headed as such, but the army was in control of Napoleon, and this directory gradually became corrupt. Okay, it became corrupt, and due to several other reasons, for example, under the directory there was a huge economic crisis that came up. People started to look up to Napoleon, who was winning war after war, and they thought that he was a capable ruler to lead France, and this will lead to the coming up of Napoleon Bonaparte, who is said to be the product of the French Revolution, and he will become the first consul that we will see in the next video. Thank you so much for staying till here. Please subscribe, and I hope you really benefited from this video. Thank you so much.